Do you remember Baby Boy, 2001? The film that shocked a generation with its painfully raw portrait of delayed adulthood. 20 years later, those familiar faces have changed in ways you never imagined. Some vanished from Hollywood, some were broken by illness and tragedy, while others rose to unimaginable power. Today, we reveal who they really became and honor the legacies they left behind. Tyrese Gibson, as Joseph Jody Summers. Tyrese Darnell Gibson was born on December 30th, 1978 in Los Angeles, California. At 23 years old, Tyrese Gibson played Joseph Jody Summers, the reckless, emotionally stunted lead in Baby Boy, 2001. The role mirrored immaturity, ego, and fear of responsibility. Fame followed instantly, but stability did not. His marriage to Samantha Lee, which began in 2017, collapsed publicly in 2020, spiraling into a brutal custody and child support battle. Court filings, arrests, and accusations of financial neglect exposed a man unraveling under pressure. The divorce drained him emotionally and financially, reopening earlier wounds from a failed first marriage to Norma Mitchell. Depression became unavoidable, no longer hidden behind celebrity bravado. Career success could not shield him. Despite earning millions from Fast and Furious and Transformers, franchises that grossed over $11 billion combined worldwide, Tyrese admitted to near bankruptcy during legal disputes. By 2024, contempt charges for unpaid child support forced him into custody until he paid $73,500, a moment that shattered his public image. Now Tyrese Gibson is 47 years old, remarried to Zelie Timothy, and attempting to rebuild stability amid lingering legal trouble. His acting continues, but cautiously, as reputation repair becomes just as important as work. His estimated net worth of $3 million stands in stark contrast to the fortune he once commanded. Ving Rhames as Melvin Irving Ramses. Rhames was born on May 12, 1959 in Harlem, New York. At 42 years old, Ving Rhames played Melvin, the stern but devoted ex-con stepfather, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role showed a man rebuilt by discipline and responsibility. It would quietly echo battles Rhames was fighting away from the camera. His marriage to Valerie Scott collapsed in the early 1990s, right as his career struggled for stability, leaving him emotionally isolated and under financial pressure. Divorce coincided with long periods of rejection, where auditions ended with silence and uncertainty. Even as opportunities emerged, he filmed Con Air, 1997, which grossed over $224 million worldwide, a sharp contrast to the instability at home. Career success came with a cruel cost. After Pulp Fiction, Hollywood typecast him as the intimidating enforcer, limiting creative freedom and forcing him to reject roles that felt hollow or degrading. Years of action work led to accumulated physical injuries, the silent tax of playing strength for a living. By 2023, he had appeared in all 8 Mission Impossible films, becoming one of only 2 actors to do so across the franchise. Today, Ving Rhames is 66 years old, still working selectively while protecting his health and legacy. He remains part of the mission. Impossible universe, choosing longevity over excess. Across 4 decades, his films have generated several $billion in global box office revenue. His estimated net worth of $25 million reflects decades of restraint rather than spectacle. Taraji P. Henson as Yvette. Taraji Penda. Henson was born on September 11, 1970, in Washington, D.C. At 30 years old, Taraji P. Henson played Yvette, the resilient, emotionally invested girlfriend of Jody, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role became her breakout, placing her at the center of a turbulent love story. It marked the moment Hollywood finally noticed her, even as her private life began to fracture. Her marriage to William Lamar Johnson, a military man, and her high school love ended in divorce in 2001, the same year Baby Boy was released. Only 2 years later, Johnson was murdered, a loss that plunged Henson into deep grief while she raised their son alone. The trauma compounded over time, contributing to severe depression and PTSD, conditions she later admitted nearly pushed her to walk away from acting altogether. Career pressure intensified despite success. After Hustle and Flow and an Oscar nomination for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, 2008, Henson publicly revealed she was still underpaid compared to peers, forcing her to fight quietly for fair compensation. Her engagement to Kelvin Hayden collapsed in 2020 after long-distance strain and emotional burnout, reopening wounds she thought had healed. Even while leading Empire, 2015 to 2020, one of Fox's highest-rated series with peak viewership over 17 million, she privately battled exhaustion and despair. Now, Taraji P. Henson is 55 years old, continuing to act while prioritizing mental health advocacy through her foundation. She remains outspoken about industry inequality and emotional truth. Her estimated net worth of $12 million reflects success hard-won through loss, resilience, and refusal to disappear. A.J. Johnson as Juanita Adrienne. Joy Johnson was born on January 2, 1963, in Orange, New Jersey. At 38 years old, A.J. Johnson played Juanita, the worn yet fiercely loving mother, in Baby Boy, 2001. Her performance captured emotional fatigue with painful honesty. Off-screen, that exhaustion soon became real. Her first marriage to a businessman in the late 1980s ended quickly, followed by a second marriage to an artist that collapsed under career pressure and financial instability. A third marriage also failed, leaving Johnson emotionally drained and distrustful of traditional relationships. By her early 40s, she had experienced 3 divorces in less than 2 decades, each one deepening emotional isolation. Career doors closed abruptly after Baby Boy. Hollywood offered fewer roles to aging black actresses, pushing her into long unemployment and severe financial stress. She fought quietly to survive, training clients while watching peers move forward. At her lowest point in the early 2000s, she reportedly relied on fitness sessions as her primary income after nearly a decade without major film roles. Now, A.J. Johnson is 62 years old, working as a fitness trainer and life coach rather than a full-time actress. She rebuilt stability outside Hollywood, choosing survival over applause. Her wellness programs have reached thousands of clients through workshops and online coaching. Her estimated net worth of $500,000 reflects resilience, not reward. Snoop Dogg as Rodney Calvin Cortazar Broadus Jr. was born on October 20, 1971, in Long Beach, California. At 29 years old, Snoop Dogg played Rodney, the volatile, manipulative ex who refuses to let go, in Baby Boy, 2001. The character radiated danger wrapped in charisma, a man who thrived on control and intimidation. It was unsettling precisely because it echoed the public image following Snoop at the time. His marriage to Shantae Taylor, which began in 1997, became one of the earliest casualties of unchecked fame. Constant touring, temptation, and infidelity eroded trust until Snoop filed for divorce in 2004, publicly admitting his betrayals. The separation shook their family, especially as they raised 3 children under relentless media scrutiny. Though they reconciled and renewed vows in 2008, the marriage that survived was no longer naive. Career success only intensified the pressure. While albums like Doggy Style, 1993, and Thaw Dog Father, 1996, cemented his dominance, Snoop's life outside the studio was chaotic, marked by gun charges, probation, airport arrests, and a first-degree murder trial that ended in acquittal but haunted him for years. Even as he transitioned into acting with films like Training Day, 2001, and Starsky and Hutch, 2004, lawsuits and royalty disputes with Death Row Records cost him millions. Fame paid well, but instability demanded its price. Now, Snoop Dogg is 54 years old, still married to Shantae Taylor, and far removed from survival mode. He oversees a sprawling empire across music, cannabis, alcohol, media, and sports, having reclaimed death row records and released projects like BODR 2022 and Missionary 2024. His estimated net worth of $160 million reflects not just longevity, but reinvention. Monique as Patrice Monique Angela Imes was born on December 11, 1967, in Baltimore County, Maryland. At 34 years old, Monique played Patrice, the sharp-tongued, brutally honest best friend, in Baby Boy, 2001. Her character delivered humor wrapped in truth, often saying what others were too afraid to admit. That boldness would later define the most painful chapters of her real life. Her private life was marked by turbulence long before fame turned toxic. Her first marriage to Calvin Watkins ended amid emotional and physical abuse, leaving scars she carried silently while raising her son alone. A second marriage to Mark Jackson also collapsed, reinforcing her fear that love came with control and pain. These failures planted deep emotional exhaustion that never fully healed. Professionally, the breaking point arrived after her Oscar-winning performance in Precious, 2009. After refusing unpaid promotional demands, she publicly accused Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Lionsgate of retaliation, an accusation followed by an unofficial Hollywood blacklist that lasted over a decade. During that period, she lost multiple seven-figure film opportunities and later sued Netflix in 2019 over pay disparity, settling quietly but confirming systemic damage. The stress triggered weight gain, anxiety, and years of psychological treatment. Now, Monique is 58 years old, slowly rebuilding her career through stand-up tours and Netflix specials while remaining outspoken about industry abuse. She stays married to Sidney Hicks, her manager and husband, since 2006, a partnership both defended and criticized for its strict financial structure. Her estimated net worth of $6 million is a fraction of what it once was. Juanita Jennings as Rachel Juanita Marie Jennings was born on September 12, 1952, in Dallas, Texas. At 49 years old, Juanita Jennings played Rachel, the calm, supportive mother of Peanut, in Baby Boy, 2001. Her role embodied emotional stability in a film full of chaos. That steadiness masked a quieter struggle unfolding off-screen. Her marriage to a stage producer in the 1970s lasted more than 3 decades, built on shared love for theater and discipline. That stability shattered in 2005 when her husband died of cancer, abruptly ending the only partnership she had ever known. Overnight, she faced grief, loneliness, and the weight of navigating late life alone. The loss permanently altered her sense of security. Career challenges intensified with age. As Hollywood sidelined older black actresses, Jennings watched offers disappear after her early 60s, forcing her to rely on teaching and guest roles to survive. Despite winning a Cable Ace Award in 1994 and appearing in dozens of series, her income became unpredictable, and chronic joint pain following years of stage work, limiting the roles she could physically accept. Today, Juanita Jennings is 72 years old, still appearing selectively in television and independent projects while mentoring younger actors. She remains active in faith and community spaces that replaced family life after loss. Her estimated net worth of $1 million reflects endurance rather than reward. Candy Ann Brown as Ms. Heron. Candy Ann Brown was born in 1944 in the United States. At 57 years old, Candy Ann Brown played Ms. Heron, the wise, observant neighbor offering grounded advice, in Baby Boy, 2001. Her presence was brief but steady, the voice of lived experience amid chaos. That calm masked a life already worn by loss and compromise. Her marriage to a jazz musician, begun in the mid-1960s, lasted nearly 40 years before collapsing in 2005, undone by diverging lifestyles and years of quiet resentment. The divorce arrived late in life, shattering stability just as work slowed and independence felt heavier. Separation forced her to rebuild emotionally, while staying strong for children and grandchildren who depended on her steadiness. The end of a decades-long partnership left a silence that never fully lifted. Professionally, racism and ageism narrowed opportunities after the 1990s, pushing her from prominent stage work into financial uncertainty. Despite originating roles on Broadway and appearing in landmark productions like Chicago and A Chorus Line, she found herself working part-time retail jobs in the early 2000s to survive. In 2010, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, enduring chemotherapy while largely out of the public eye. Today, Candy Ann Brown is 81 years old, living quietly while remaining connected to cultural and arts events. She no longer works regularly, choosing health and family over performance. Her estimated net worth of $800,000 reflects a lifetime of contribution that was never fully rewarded, yet never erased. Tracy Jones as Sharika. Tracy Jones was born in 1970 in the United States. At 31 years old, Tracy Jones played Sharika, the blunt, street-smart, no-nonsense friend of Yvette in Baby Boy, 2001. The role sharpened the film's realism, giving voice to frustration, survival, and truth many characters avoided. It also reinforced a persona Hollywood would later refuse to let her escape. Her personal life unfolded far from the spotlight but carried its own weight. Tracy entered a marriage that ultimately collapsed under emotional distance and career instability, leading to a quiet divorce. As acting opportunities slowed, financial stress crept into the relationship, turning creative passion into pressure. The end of that marriage coincided painfully with the industry beginning to look past her. Professionally, the damage came from success itself. After strong visibility in Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your gin and juice in the hood, 1996, and Ice Cube's The Players Club, 1998, casting directors locked her into comedic, hyper-urban stereotypes. Serious dramatic roles vanished, auditions dried up, and by the early 2000s she found herself sidelined despite proven talent. The silence between jobs forced her to confront a harsh reality. Waiting meant disappearing. Refusing to fade, she rebuilt from the ground up. Tracy shifted into writing, producing pilots, developing feature scripts, and later training in interior and creative design, often funding projects herself. In 2025, she is 55 years old, working as a writer, designer, and creative entrepreneur outside mainstream Hollywood, focused on long-term, community-driven work. Her estimated net worth of $5 million stands not as a reward for fame, but as evidence of reinvention after rejection. Omar Gooding as Sweet Pea. Omar Miles Gooding was born on October 19, 1976, in Los Angeles, California. At 25 years old, Omar Gooding played Sweet Pea, the hot-tempered, impulsive best friend, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role captured raw aggression and insecurity in a single frame. It also placed him directly under the long shadow of his famous last name. Marriage became his first anchor away from chaos. Omar married Eliza Barber, and after years of instability in his youth, the relationship brought structure and accountability. Before that stability, he struggled quietly with substance abuse and self-destructive habits, intensified by constant comparisons to his Oscar-winning brother Cuba Gooding Jr. The pressure to measure up nearly consumed him, pushing him into a period of emotional burnout rather than public scandal. The comparisons hurt just as deeply. While Omar found steady television work on Smart Guy, Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, and later Family Time, which ran 7 seasons from 2012 to 2020, Hollywood never granted him the same cinematic opportunities. The lack of breakout film roles created long gaps and forced him to diversify into music and writing. Addiction recovery and career frustration became intertwined battles he had to fight without fanfare. Now, Omar Gooding is 49 years old, living a quieter, more balanced life focused on family and selective projects. He remains married to Eliza Barber and is a devoted father to their 2 children. His estimated net worth of $1 million reflects survival through restraint rather than excess. Tamara Bass as Peanut. Tamara Bass was born in 1979 in Syracuse, New York. At 22 years old, Tamara Bass played Peanut, the quiet but emotionally loaded mother of Jodi's second child, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role exposed vulnerability, restraint, and quiet disappointment. It would also mark the peak of her visibility as an on-screen actress. Marriage and motherhood reshaped her life far more than fame. Tamara kept her marriage intentionally private, choosing protection over publicity, but balancing a relationship, a young child, and a stalled acting career became emotionally exhausting. As roles slowed after Baby Boy, financial pressure and identity confusion set in, forcing her to question whether Hollywood still had space for her. The silence between auditions was louder than rejection. Career frustration slowly turned into reinvention. While acting opportunities dwindled, she retrained herself behind the camera, writing and directing in isolation and without industry support. That long struggle finally paid off with If Not Now, When? 2019, a film that earned multiple jury nominations at the American Black Film Festival, validating nearly 2 decades of quiet perseverance. The journey, however, came with burnout and constant self-doubt rather than applause. In 2025, Tamara Bass is 46 years old, working steadily as a director and writer while maintaining a fiercely guarded personal life as a mother. Her estimated net worth of $500,000 reflects a career rebuilt from survival rather than stardom. Angel Conwell as Kim Angel Conwell was born on August 2, 1983, in Orangeburg, South Carolina. At 20 years old, Angel Conwell played Kim, the outspoken friend of Yvette, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role was brief but visible, placing her among a breakout ensemble at the very start of adulthood. Fame arrived early, but permanence did not. As she transitioned from film into daytime television, Angel faced relentless scrutiny over appearance, youth, and longevity. The move into soap operas brought stability but also stigma, with casting directors quietly limiting her opportunities outside that lane. Remaining single became less a choice and more a byproduct of survival focus. Her career found footing but not ease. The young and the restless gave her long-term security, yet the emotional toll of contract uncertainty and repeated exits weighed heavily. Despite this, she amassed over 200 episodes across soap and primetime television, proving endurance rather than hype. The pressure to remain camera-ready never faded, even as roles matured. In 2025, Angel Conwell is 44 years old, fully committed to acting and producing while maintaining independence from public relationships. She continues to work steadily in television, honored by her hometown with a key to the city in 2019. Her estimated net worth of $2 million reflects consistency earned through discipline, not shortcuts. Success achieved quietly, without scandal, and without safety nets. Kaylan Bolton as Joe. Joe. Kaylan Bolton was born on June 9, 1996, in Los Angeles, California. At just 5 years old, Kaylan Bolton played Joe, the innocent young son of Yvette, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role symbolized childhood caught in adult chaos. It was his most memorable appearance on screen. Growing up away from Hollywood's spotlight, Kaylan's acting career quietly ended before it could begin, a decision made jointly by family to protect normalcy. Watching peers continue in entertainment while he stepped away created silent identity tension. Career-wise, the struggle was absence rather than failure. After small roles in Monk, 2002, and Miss Match, 2003, opportunities stopped completely. No scandals, no comebacks, just disappearance. That quiet exit came with confusion and the long process of redefining purpose without applause or cameras. Now, Kaylan Bolton is 29 years old, living a private life far removed from Hollywood. His estimated net worth of $100,000, earned mainly from childhood royalties, stands as a faint echo of a life briefly captured on film, then deliberately reclaimed from it. Keith Diamond as Sneed. Keith Diamond was born on March 26, 1962, in Jamaica, Queens, New York City. At 39 years old, Keith Diamond played Sneed, the menacing street figure tied to gang tension and violence, in Baby Boy, 2001. The role was brief but dangerous, embodying the threat constantly circling Jody's world. It reflected the kind of characters Hollywood kept handing him. Keith kept his long-term relationship private, but in 2004 his life shattered when his own father shot him in the chin and torso while he was visiting his terminally ill mother. The attack nearly killed him and destroyed any sense of safety he had left. Recovery was long, traumatic, and silent, leaving scars far deeper than the physical wounds. His career never truly recovered either. Before the shooting, he was a familiar face on The Drew Carey Show, appearing in 7 episodes, ER, Charmed, and films like Desperate Measures, 1998. Afterward, typecasting as criminals and cops dried up, and medical bills collided with shrinking opportunities. Voice work and small residuals replaced momentum as Hollywood quietly moved on. In 2025, Keith Diamond is 63 years old, living largely out of the public eye and rarely acting. His estimated net worth of $500,000 comes mainly from film royalties and past voice work. Kareem J. Grimes as Do Dirty. Kareem J. Grimes was born in 1975 in the United States. At 26 years old, Kareem J. Grimes played Do Dirty, the reckless, negative influence pushing street chaos, in Baby Boy, 2001. The character thrived on bad decisions. Unfortunately, that energy followed him longer than expected. Marriage became his stabilizer. Kareem built a quiet, committed relationship with his wife, choosing family over nightlife, but early career frustration tested that bond. After early promise, including 187, 1997, he suffered a serious onset injury during later projects that limited physical roles and slowed momentum. Pain and uncertainty replaced ambition. Career doors closed faster than they opened. Hollywood reduced him to street roles, then stopped calling altogether. Despite appearing later in projects like S-Wait and All American, these were sporadic lifelines rather than comebacks. Between 2002 and 2015, his screen appearances dropped sharply, forcing him to survive without consistent income or recognition. Now, Kareem J. Grimes is 50 years old, focused on family life and selective acting when opportunities arise. His estimated net worth of $500,000 reflects endurance, not fame. Baby Boy was never just a love story. It was a raw portrait of broken homes, delayed adulthood, and people trapped between fear and responsibility. So after more than 2 decades, which cast members' real-life transformation in 2025 surprised you the most? Did their journey reflect the struggles we saw on screen? Or did reality take a far more shocking turn? If this Baby Boy, 2001, then and now story moved you, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the lives behind iconic films. Because growing up doesn't end when the movie does, and neither do the consequences.